I'll call this meeting to order. It's a regularly scheduled meeting of the, or not quite regularly scheduled meeting of the Transportation Public Works Committee, making adjustments for tomorrow's political day. It's August 8th, 2016. I'm Councilmember Reich. I'll be chairing today's meeting, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Councilmember Bender, Palmisano, and Glidden. We are a quorum and may proceed with today's agenda. On today's agenda, we have 16 items, all of which are consent minus the last item, which is a discussion item, item 16. I'll go through the consent items. Any committee member may pull them for further consideration if they wish. Item 1 is the water and sewer service line repair assessments, setting the public hearing, and that public hearing will be October 11th, 2016. Item 2, likewise, is special service district assessments and setting the public hearing. That public hearing will be September 27th, 2016. Item 3 is the Wetland Conservation Act implementation delegation, and that's a resolution authorizing Director of Public Works or designee to act as a decision-making authority for the Wetland Conservation Act within the portions of the City of Minneapolis, including Bassett Creek, Shingle Creek, Mississippi Watershed Management Organization areas. Item 4 is the Advanced Metering Infrastructure Request for Proposals. That will be referred to Ways and Means. Item 5 is the Big Jump Project Letter of Interest. Item 6 is the Federal Highway Safety Improvement Program Funds 2016 applications. Item 7 is the Minneapolis Open Streets 2017 Organizer Selection and Agreement. Item 8 is the construction of traffic signal and pedestrian ramps at 60th Street West and Xerxes Avenue South. Item 9 is the Stormwater Specialty Vegetation Management Contract Amendment with Wetland Habitat Restoration for the amounts listed. Item 10 is the Intelligent Transportation System Enhancement Project. That's a contract amendment with Egan and Company for that work. Item 11 is the Riverside Extension Reconstruction Project, contract amendment with Thomas Sons Construction to proceed with that project as redefined by the amendment. Item 12 is the 3rd Street South, 46th Street East Signal Upgrades Project, and that's a contract amendment with Premier Electrical Corporation to do that work. Item 13 is the Nicollet Central Modern Streetcar Project, and that's a professional service contract amendment to extend some of the analysis being done for that. Item 14 is the Nicollet Central Modern Streetcar Project Management Contract Amendment, again, to proceed with further analysis. And 15 is the Traffic Zones Restrictions and Control Second Quarter Report for 2016, and that will be a receive and file of that report. Does anyone wish to pull an item? Seeing none, I'll move all items. All in favor say aye. Aye. Dissenting nay. Those items carry. We can now go to our last item, which is discussion regarding the Blue Line Extension final environment impact statement comments. Good morning, Director.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Don Flum will present on the Blue Line Extension this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and council members. We're here today to talk about the Blue Line Extension FEIS comments and process. The final environmental impact statement was just published middle of July of this year. And what we're going to talk about here, what is in the FEIS document, what the guidelines for staff comments were, a summary of those comments, and then just a few minutes at the end for questions. The FEIS is a very substantial document. It's about 3 inches thick, and there's an actual document, and then there's the technical appendix that goes with that. The document's broken down into 12 different chapters that look at different elements of the corridor, look at different needs, different things that have to be examined. You can see them in front of you. Transportation analysis, there's looking at community and social impacts. They look at 4F impacts. There's discussion on a number of different topics, as you can see in front of you here. So it's a very thorough document. It's something that takes a lot of time, a lot of consulting staff, a lot of staff at the project office working on this. And we do have Catherine O'Brien here to answer any questions at the end if we need from the project office. So a lot of work went into this, very substantial effort. The statute is very clear on what is being asked of us. When you may have recalled in the past, we had a draft environmental impact statement that we made comments on. This is the final environmental impact statement. This has been published, so the comments that we're making aren't going to have any bearing on this document. It's out there. It's done. However, the comments are important because it advises how we move forward with this project. There's still final design to complete for this project. We're only about a third of the way through the final design process, so there's plenty of time for our comments to matter. And I will say that since the draft environmental impact statement was published and we've made comments through our weekly IRT meetings, issue resolution team meetings, we've been able to resolve a lot of the comments that were made and make progress on some of the bigger topics. So we're going to talk about some of the different areas of concern. We worked very closely with the project office on designing the Olson Memorial Highway corridor. As you can see, there is a train running down the middle. We worked with the project office to see that both the Golden Valley Road and Plymouth stations were included as part of the project scope, which they both are. We worked very hard to lower the speed limit on the corridor, worked to adjust the road curvature, make sure that ADA compliant pedestrian facilities were designed or begin to be designed. We looked at narrowing travel lanes, and through the Hennepin County process, a cycle track on the north side was identified. Also, one of the things that we pushed for very hard was a one cycle pedestrian crossing situation at the intersections, which is very important as this is a very long span to cross. And then also improvements at the intersection of 7th Street and Olson Memorial Highway, which I believe is significantly better than what was originally proposed. And so this IRT process is a gradual process. It's been 2 years since the draft environmental impact statement was published, and we've been working with the project office in that period, and we've got some very good work to show for that period of time. So the next topic, well, these are the unresolved things. These are the topics that we haven't fully resolved. We haven't come to conclusion on, but the topics in front of us are those types of things that are discussed and resolved in final design. So things like how did the stations look? How were the traction power substations screened? What did the wires look like? The fencing, the lighting, the landscaping, all of that stuff comes out through the final design process. So our detailed comments, which you have in your appendix, or as an attachment rather, go into a little more detail about what's needed in the coming months. No different than any of the other light rail projects, we are very concerned about noise and vibration. We're very concerned about limiting the hours of operation to make sure that work's not being done at night, or we don't have problems with trucks with dust and noise. And we work very hard with the different project offices on light rail project to make sure we minimize those impacts to residents and businesses. We continue to do the same thing here. The noise and vibration, a very substantial portion of the final impact statement. Most of the concerns are outside the city. There are a few homes that are going to see some additional noise. But what we ask is that the Met Council, where possible, limit the amount of whistles and bells and so forth when their discretion applies. There are certain situations where by federal law you have to apply the horn, but we are asking the council to exercise discretion where appropriate so that we don't have constant noise, particularly at late hours of the night. Traffic is obviously a major concern along the Wilson corridor. And then we asked the project office to consult with us, particularly on things like signal and traffic related work, things that come out in final design, such as signal timing. What we want to do is work with them on proposed detour routes, making sure that the pedestrian realm and signage and striping are done in such a manner that it minimizes impact to folks, especially those who want to cross the corridor. Ridership is one of those topics that we really hadn't gotten a good handle on until the past year or so. We had some ranges. Now we've got a little more detail on ridership, and the two stations just outside the city limits at Golden Valley Road and at Plymouth are amongst the lower ridership stations. So we're obviously looking to bolster ridership at all the stations, but particularly these two. One of the ways that you can achieve opening day increases, for instance, at the Plymouth station is to provide a secondary access point. So we're going to continue to work with the project office to work on that issue. A lot of folks within a 10-minute walk shed within the city of Minneapolis, both at the Plymouth and Golden Valley Road stations. So it's important to note. Obviously, equity is important. The two graphics on the right show the populations of both low-income and minority residents. You can see that this travel shed has a higher than average number of both. And so we asked the project to continue to engage community groups throughout the design and construction process, that it not just end now, that it continue, and they've committed to do so. And then obviously federal projects do require DBA goals. So to wrap things up here, we are recommending that the final environmental impact statement be moved forward. We believe that the document is adequate, that it's defined by statute. We'll continue to work as a next step with the project office to resolve all the remaining comments in development of those final plans. So that process will take all of the rest of this year. They've indicated that the 60% plans will be done next year, early part of next year, and then final design will wrap up the end of next year. So as I mentioned, we do have Catherine here to answer detailed questions. Want to thank the core review team, Becca Hughes, Kathleen Mayell, myself, Jim Vole. Also want to acknowledge Kelly Moriarty and Alan Klugman for their technical help in reviewing this document. As I mentioned before, it's a very substantial document, and I will stand for any questions.
Are there any questions for the presentation? All right, seeing none, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
And obviously the decision before us today is very circumscribed as described by the presentation and the presenter. Obviously there's a lot of questions moving forward in terms of design and even broader policy questions about, densification. Here's a lot of investment in transit, but do we get the housing, economic development, even outside of our boundaries? And so those conversations will continue past this date. Thanks a lot. With that, I will move approving the comments of the final environmental impact statement for the Blue Line extension, also known as the Botno Quarter LOT project, and directing Public Works Department to submit the comments to the Metropolitan Council. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Dissenting nay. That carries. And we have now concluded our business on the agenda and are adjourned. Thank you.